Hey ladies, it's Robin Riggs, your practical health coach, and it's spring, which means a lot of us are starting to get outside and enjoy the nice, beautiful, warm weather, whether you are in your garden or just playing outside with your kids, taking a walk, taking a bike ride. We need to talk about sun exposure and your sunscreen, whether or not it is okay for you or whether or not it's one of those sunscreens that have a lot of toxins in it. But before we talk about your sunscreen, let's talk about the issue of vitamin D, which you can get from the sun. Many of us are actually deficient in vitamin D, so some amount of sunlight exposed without sunscreen is actually good for us. If you're fair-skinned like I am, you need about 20 minutes a day of your skin exposed to the sun. If you had on a tank top and shorts, that should be enough skin exposed to the sun. What happens is the sun hits your skin and your skin is actually able to convert those UVB rays into vitamin D. And because most of us are deficient in vitamin D, about 20 minutes a day in the sun without any sun protection is actually advisable. Now, if you have darker skin or the older that you get from age 40 and up, you actually need more than that every day in order to produce the right amount of vitamin D to supplement the small amount of vitamin D that we're getting from our diet. So don't be completely afraid of the sun. Now, above and beyond the amount of sun exposure that you're supposed to get, we need to start to protect our skin from the sun. And there are a couple different ways to do that. One is an actual physical barrier. So putting a hat on to protect your face, putting on a long sleeve shirt and long pants, and even UV type of material, which is now available in kids' swimsuits and adult swimsuits alike. Those are physical barriers, or being underneath a sun umbrella. And then there are barriers such as sunscreen. And sunscreen falls into two categories as well. There is a chemical sunscreen, which produces a chemical barrier, and then there is sunscreen that's more along the line of zinc sunscreen, and that actually creates a physical barrier on your skin. And so we're going to talk about which ones are okay for you to use and which ones you really need to avoid. When it comes to sunscreen, there are mineral-based sunscreens and then there are chemical-based. We'll talk first about the most harmful sunscreens, which are chemical-based. Most of those contain two ingredients that we have some concern with. In 2007, the Environmental Working Group came out with new information that helped educate the public on the fact that traditional chemical sunscreens may actually be more harmful to your health than the sun exposure itself and may actually increase your risk of cancer. In 2011, the FDA backed up those findings as well. Since then, some sunscreen brands have been working to reformulate and take out some of the bad chemicals, but not all have done so. I'm going to show you a resource where you can find out if the sunscreen that you use is safe or not. But first, let's talk about a couple of those chemicals. The first one is oxybenzone, which is a common UV filter used in sunscreens. That is a known hormone disruptor and an allergen. The CDC took a sample of population, and up to 97% of the American population showed oxybenzone in their urine. It's in 70% of the non-mineral sunscreens. Another issue is the type of vitamin A that's used in many chemical sunscreens. It's actually been shown to increase the risk of skin cancer when it's exposed to the sun. On top of this, the chemical sunscreens are made with nanoparticles, which are particles so small that they quickly penetrate through your skin and get into your bloodstream. Here are some little known facts about sunscreen. The first fact is that there's actually no proof that sunscreens prevent skin cancer. Rates of melanoma, the most deadly form of skin cancer, have tripled over the past 35 years, even though sunscreen use these days is very high. The next is that you should not be fooled by high SPF. Many government agencies have actually considered putting a ban on anything above SPF 50 because it is misleading. Now let's talk about the type of sunscreen that appears to be the least harmful to our bodies, and that is mineral-based sunscreen. It contains zinc oxide, which is a physical barrier between your skin and the sun. And yes, it does leave that white effect on your skin. It's not as easy to rub in, and it's more obvious on your skin, but it's protecting your body with a physical barrier rather than a chemical one that is going to disrupt your hormones, get into your bloodstream, and speed the development of cancer. If you're using a sunscreen that is in a spray can, there's another level of hazard there, which is that it's been shown that when you inhale these chemicals that are sprayed on your body, it can cause problems with the lungs and more exposure to the chemicals. So you want to use the lotion over the spray when possible. I'm going to show you a resource that's really easy to help you determine if your sunscreen is safe, and if it's not, which brands you want to go with. The Environmental Working Group has a website called Skin Deep where you can look up sunscreen and see the safety ratings. You can also look up your makeup and cleaning products and lots of other things there, but for now we're going to focus on sunscreen. So the first thing I would like you to do is go to the EWG Skin Deep website and type in the sunscreen that you use and look at its safety rating. It will rate it anywhere between a 1 and a 10, 1 being the least level of hazard and 10 being the most toxic. And then you can further click on that and see which particular ingredients are of concern. Let's take, for example, this Coppertone Kids Spray. It rates a 7, which means that it is moderate to high hazard for our health. The SPF value is 70, which is misleading. It contains oxybenzone, a hormone-disrupting chemical. It contains retinol palmitate, which may damage sun-exposed skin, and it's in a spray form, which can be bad for our lungs. Likewise, you can go to the EWG Skin Deep website and click on their sunscreen report to see the best rated sunscreens. Those are generally mineral-based sunscreens, which contain zinc oxide. A couple of their favorites are the Badger brand and also the Beauty Counter brand for safety and for coverage. However, the EWG does recommend sunscreen as a last resort. They would prefer if you choose to avoid the sun during peak hours, use physical barriers such as hats, clothing, and umbrellas, find shade, check the UV index, and wear sunglasses to protect your eyes. So the takeaways here are, number 1, you do need some amount of sun to boost your vitamin D. Just make sure that you're taking in that sun responsibly, hopefully not during the peak hours of the day and not for too long. Second, use physical barriers rather than chemical barriers to protect yourself from the skin. And third, if you are using sunscreen, check the EWG website and find a responsible brand like Badger or Beauty Counter so that you can know that what you're putting on your skin is not harming it. If you've found a safe sunscreen that you like, please post below and let us know what it is. And enjoy your time in the sun. Bye-bye.